Too loud there, Skippy. Hey, everybody. Hey. Welcome. Start the show in just a moment. Hope everyone is doing well on this Taco Tuesday. Just got to get some elements together, and we are going to begin. It's been a little crazy around the hacienda today. We just got some chickens. The coming global food shortages. This is something we're focused on, making sure that we have eggs. So today we got chicken, so it's a little crazy around here. We're like, kids just got home from school, and they're like, what? Okay. Hello from Winter Haven, Florida. Roberto, good to see you. Roberto, Tony Jocelyn here. Lindsay is in the house. Kevin, good to see you from Lakeland, Florida. Okay. All right. Let's start this show, shall we? This is our live edition. Lamar is here. Good to see you, Lamar. Hey, JR. Any questions you have, you can ask away after. I'm going to do some content here focusing on teaching your children about financial literacy, but it's not just about the children. Really, it's about the family and understanding what goes into financial intelligence. So even if you don't have children, it doesn't matter. Big piece of that. All right. Welcome in to the Investing in Real Estate show. Welcome, investors. Today we're going to talk about educating your family, educating your children about financial literacy. I don't know about you, but growing up in my school, I never had financial literacy. And the only thing that I was taught in my school was how to balance a checkbook. And I think that's probably the case for most of you. I was a guest on Fox News for a segment on Fox and Friends about a couple of years ago. And Bill Hemmer, one of the anchors at Fox, said to me, he said, Clayton, he said, it's amazing. He said, I wasn't even taught how to balance a checkbook at my school. We need this in this country. We need financial intelligence. We need financial literacy. I said, Bill, that's why I wrote the book. Yes, exactly. Now, I do this show, a Q&A version of this show once a week. I answer 3 questions from my voicemail. Last week, I got a question from Drew, who's an 11-year-old. He called my show and he asked me, how do I teach my, he said, how do I talk to my parents about this? And he asked about how he could teach his own kids eventually about financial intelligence. He's an 11-year-old and he wanted to know how he could talk with his parents about financial intelligence. What would he need to know in order to eventually teach his own children? He's 11. I was out playing basketball in the backyard. I didn't know anything about financial intelligence at that age. But here he is calling into my show, asking about building financial intelligence and building an amazing foundation for his future. I want to go ahead and play Drew's phone call so you can take a listen to what he has to say, and we'll play it and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Hey Clan, I really like your YouTube videos. They're really cool. And every time I'm busy, I hear my dad hearing your YouTube videos all the time, man. I was just wondering, do you have any advice for an 11-year-old on real estate and investing? And if you have any kids, do you teach them anything? Because I would really like to know. Thank you, Clan. And by the way, your videos are really awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Drew. We were so tickled by this phone call that we wanted to go a little bit deeper today. So I'm going to reiterate what I told Drew in that Q&A episode that we had. But I also want to go a little deeper into some specific strategies that you as a parent can use to teach your children about financial intelligence. First, let's talk about why financial literacy matters, okay? Not in just the United States, but around the world. Every year, the American Public Education Foundation's National Report Card on Financial Literacy grades each state in the United States on their financial education. Here it is. And as you can guess, it's not very good. I'll put a link in their site and you can go through their report card and you can look at what this does. But it links to the financial literacy with societal issues, including bankruptcy filings, overdependence on the government. It's really awful stuff here. I mean, lack of financial education even leads to suicide. Think about, I know a lot of the stress and the pain in my life growing up in my 20s, sleepless nights. Because of the massive amounts of debt that I was in, the fear around money. It's largely been the thing that scared me the most in my life. Isn't that crazy? Like a man-made thing that we could truly take control of and understand causes us the most anxiety, leading to suicide for people. It's unbelievable. It's man-made. We created it. We should be able to wrap our heads around it and have access to it, have money flow to us, right? Understand how it all works. But a lot of course, the big institutions don't want you to do that. They'd rather keep you in the dark. They'd rather have the money flow in the hands of just a few people. And that's why on this show, our goal is to empower you to take control of your finances and to build wealth so that it's not just in the hands of a few people. So this America's report card, the nation's report card on financial literacy, is troubling in all kinds of ways. The 2021 data shows that 2/3 of the United States earned a grade of C or worse in financial literacy instruction, with only 17 states earning grades of A or B. I mean, Nebraska moved from a B to an A. Good for you, Nebraska. North Carolina moved from a B to an A. But Vermont moved from a D to a C. Rhode Island moved from an F to a C. The list goes on. You can look at your own state. I love this report. I think it's highlighting a huge problem. But I also don't even know if I believe this level of financial literacy, even a C seems high to me. Like, I didn't receive any one iota of financial education growing up in schools, in public schools. It's simply not taught. I mean, let me know in the chat or in the comments below what type of financial education you received in junior high school and high school. Let me know. Here's the thing, though. Their basis for what constitutes a financial education doesn't even meet my standards for what I want for my kids. I believe financial intelligence is so much more than learning basic economics or balancing a checkbook. Who uses a checkbook anymore? Yes, it's important at the end of the month to make sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. But balancing a checkbook is also predicated on the idea that you're working for somebody else and checks are coming in and money is going out. And very often people don't have enough money going, at the end of the month to pay for the bills that they already have. That's really what it's sort of set on, that principle. You work for somebody else, you get a check, it goes into an account, you pay your bills. What if you had passive income flowing in that totally upsets the apple cart? Again, totally different, right? But you're not taught that. And you're also not taught to avoid high interest credit cards. I mean, very often that's pushed upon you. Go to college, go to a student union building at the University of Pittsburgh where I went. And one of the first things that I saw was a Bank of America table set up with two girls sitting there. We're giving away, free t-shirts, and hey, sign up and get and of course, what college kid doesn't want a t-shirt, right? Sign up and you're also going to get a credit card. Wow. And then you can run down to the CD store and go into debt. And that's what I did almost immediately. Buying CDs and going out to eat. It's unbelievable if you think about it. When you look at the report, this financial literacy report card, it states that a state that earned a high grade is really doing the bare minimum in my eyes. For example, if you look at the state like that earned an A, like Ohio, you'll see that they met 3 simple guidelines. Number 1, they have financial literacy standards for students K through 12. Number 2, the Ohio Department of Education has a web page that educators can go and access. Big deal. Read they have a web page. Good for you. Number 3, they require a half-credit personal finance course to graduate. A 1/2 credit personal finance course to graduate. That's it. So let's be honest, the bar is pretty damn low. Now let's get into some specific ways that you can teach your children a comprehensive financial education. And don't assume somebody else will teach them. You probably already knew that schools in America don't have high standards when it comes to teaching personal finance. Let this report sort of solidify that for you when you read through it. I think your children are going to gain a financial education at school. That's sadly not the case. If you want your children to succeed financially, the education is going to have to come from you. So what I encourage you to do is play the liabilities versus asset game at home. This is something that we do around our dinner table from time to time. Not every night. Otherwise, maybe dinner would get a little boring. Mostly it's me telling my kids to eat dinner or telling my daughter Ava to sit on her chair properly. She likes to sit on her knees and with her it's really bizarre. But we play the liabilities and assets game at our home around the dinner table sometimes. And it sets a nice foundation. Teach them the distinction between the two. What is an asset? What is a liability? And then empower them to stay out of the liability trap. You can turn to Robert Kiyosaki, for instance. If you want to learn about making your money work for you, there's no better teacher than one of my mentors, Robert Kiyosaki. Other than, of course, his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is more of an adult level book, Robert also has a cash flow board game and a book specifically for kids. The cash flow board game is fantastic. So I encourage all of you, we will link it up in the description below. Make sure that you click that link because there's 2 different versions and one is more advanced. Don't get that one. It'll make your kids' head spin. Get the one that's geared directly for children. We have that link in the description for you. And then also Dad's Escape from the Rat Race, another great book. And walk them through this. Teach them about spending with a green light debit card. This is something that we use in our house. The green light debit card is fantastic. And I don't want to delve too far into this today, but my wife Natalie has an entire blog post about how we allocate funds to our kids and teach them about spending and saving. So when they go to the store, they have their own card. And they know it's not just fantasy money. And now, instead of just randomly picking out random crap that's made in China that they're never going to use more than once, they think long and hard about it. And oftentimes they'll put it back on the shelf because you know what? It's just not that worth it to them. They'd rather save up their money. My son is saving up his money because he wants a computer. It's a lot more efficient, this card, and realistic than using a piggy bank in our increasingly cashless society. So it's very, very important. I mean, I don't know how many people have cash anymore, right? So think about how they can understand money. If you can't see it, that's very, very important. I think one thing to do is, when you think about money, think about the spreadsheet, think about the data. And so my wife will sit down with the kids once a month, and they're not going to get their allowance without actually going through and balancing that spreadsheet. So they know how much money they spent that month and how much is coming in. They have to zero that out. They have to make sure that their spreadsheet is up to date. A little bit different, maybe a little bit more advanced version of the balancing a checkbook, but getting them to think about money in, money out. Think about wealth as more than just money. When you think about the legacy that you're passing down, preserving and protecting wealth is really tied to your family's mission and principles. It's not just about dollars. I'd encourage you to check out the book Entrusted. It's a great book. It's a good place to start because it'll involve your children in the family business. And what Andrew Howell and the authors do in this book is shows you how to think about wealth preservation. And there are many levels to this, of course, depending on your children's ages, right? But it depends on your kids' maturity level as well, not just their age. How can you involve them in these conversations about your business? What lessons can you share with them? What type of work is age appropriate? Keep learning so you can keep teaching. The more you build your own financial education, the more lessons you will be able to teach your kids. Be committed to learning on a regular basis so you can pass down a strong foundation of financial intelligence. Having these conversations with your children at a young age is very important. And I want to kind of speak a little bit about something that, beyond just the X's and O's, but really about the esoteric idea of money as well. Understanding that money, we cannot hold on to money, right? If you try to hold on to money and you're always the cheapskate at dinner, right? You never try to pay for dinner. You think that, oh my God, this money, I just can't, I need to hold on to it. I need to. Well, guess what? Money doesn't flow to those people. Money avoids those people. Money flows to people who are good stewards of that money. And it took me a long time to realize this. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s, early 30s when I started to build wealth. Once I understood that I didn't need to be scared of money. Once I understood that I can't hold on to it. Money is like a river. It flows constantly, right? And you have ebbs and flows of it. It'll come in, it'll go out. But as long as you're a good steward of it, it will flow to you. And I know this, again, sounds a little esoteric and a little wah-wah, a little hoo-hoo, whatever you want to call it. But I encourage all of you to read the book by Vivek, I say his name is Vivek Gundry. The book is called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. And he really teaches you in that book the sort of energetic response to money. And you see it all the time, the people that don't pick up the bill at dinner, it's because they have a fear of money. This idea that, oh my God, if I pay for dinner now, if I do this, it's not going to flow to me. It's not going to come to me, right? And what they do is then they continue to set up barriers to building wealth. They continue to put things in their way, or they think of themselves only as they're only able to make a certain amount of money. Let's say they make, I'm just going to throw out a random number. Let's say they make $45,000 a year, right? That's what they think they are worth. So they walk around thinking of themselves as a $45,000 a year employee. That's how they think of themselves. They can't even envision. What if you just told to that person, don't you see yourself as a $3 million person? Oh, they'd laugh. Oh my God, no. How would I get there? Well, one way to start is to not think of yourself as a $45,000 a year person. Start to think differently about money. Start to realize that you are not this limit, this artificial ceiling, this artificial limit that you've placed on yourself. And once you do that, and look, I regress. Sometimes I have fears from time to time about it. But for the most part, I've been able to overcome that. And it took me a lot of long, hard work because I grew up with this fear, that money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. We're not the Rockefellers. I heard those things implanted in my brain. That you should work for somebody else and you should get a job, work for somebody else, and you should ask for a raise every 2 or 3 years if you're doing a good job. That's what you should do. That's how you build wealth. You put a little bit of money away. I had to unlearn all of that. So what if we could teach our children at an early age never to think like that, never to be fearful of money, but to be good stewards of money, and money will flow to them. Drop me a comment below. I would love to hear your methods of madness in your family and how you teach your children to be financially intelligent. Let's open it up for some Q&A here if we have any questions here. Let's see. Faisal, algebra, calculus, finite math, economics, nothing about credit cards, loans, mortgages, and student loans in our school. Yeah, there you go. Oh, it's David. Yeah, David Kigandi is Happy Pocket Full of Money. It's a great book. JR says, no financial literacy education for me. Yeah, for most people, no, of course not. It's just the way it goes, my friends. Yeah, and giving, exactly. And Lindsay makes the point, giving money away really helps it flow. And I'm not even talking about, people think, well, you give 10% of your money away. Yes, do that, but it doesn't have to be to like some organization. It doesn't have to be to a church. It can, what I've read and what really I think is special to me and what I think absolutely works is that if you have $1, give 10 cents of it away. That's all you've got left is $1, giving a portion of that away to something that nourishes you spiritually. And it could literally be the waitress at the diner that you go to every day who refills your coffee cup and always gives you a smile, and brightens your day. It doesn't have to be some organization like Greenpeace or a church, right? It can literally be something or someone who nourishes you spiritually, who brings you some sort of contentment and peace in that way, to show the universe that this is what you're rewarding. Somebody that lowers entropy, lowers chaos. After all, the quantum mechanics, we can get into quantum physics about all of this, but the data is in on this. The studies about this are remarkable from quantum physicists who study like the movement of particles and looking at those who lower entropy. The whole goal of us being here is to lower chaos. And so imagine rewarding those people and those things in your life that actually lower chaos. Lifts us all up, right? Instead of, donating your money to the federal government, how can you keep more of your own money in your pocket? And so less money is going to wars and foreign incursions and things like that, right? So when I think about lowering my taxes, it means, hey, how can I keep more of my money in my pocket so the Department of Defense doesn't take my money and ship it to some war zone somewhere, which is what we're doing week in and week out. And financial education, financial literacy helps you do that. Remember, the tax code is actually written for you to keep your money in your pocket if you know how to leverage it properly. And it shouldn't just be the tools of the wealthy. Understanding these things. You shouldn't just have to work for somebody else, pay your taxes in your paycheck, put money into a 401k, and then walk in and set it and forget it and think that you're okay. You're not. You're absolutely not. Lindsay says, I bounced my first check paying for a prom dress because I didn't balance my checkbook right. It was so embarrassing, and I was afraid I was going to go to jail. Yeah, well, you've already heard the stories. Even on Seinfeld, they put up, the guys that bounced the check. They'd had the check, like, taped up on the store. Like, this check bounced. Like, it's embarrassing. It's happened to me. I mean, I can't tell you in my days how many overdraft protection I got so good. I had such a problem with money back when I was in my 20s that I would go to the Bank of America and talk to the person there who could help me, my account specialist, because I kept having these overdraft fees and it was just crushing me. and the person was kind enough to like wipe them all away. And suddenly my account went from like negative something to like had a few $100s back in the account somehow. And I was like, oh my God, I am never going to do this again. So embarrassing. They're like, please don't do this again. This is the last time. And it was like, they reversed all of these charges because I just said, I didn't realize. Like there was this one thing that kept charging. It kept like going ding, 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 ding. And it kept like pushing me over. It's so embarrassing, to have to like sit there with a banker and like beg about your situation. So what we can teach our children is so powerful. Well, thank you guys for joining us today on the show. If you are ready to dive in and become a real estate investor and you're ready to take the plunge with a team that knows it best, I was just talking to some family and friends who are ready to move some money out of the California market into new construction real estate. And they said, we're booking a call with your team because that's what we do at Morris Invest. We are full service rental real estate company. And if you just come over to Morris Invest, that's our website. You can learn more. If you're not ready just yet, that's fine too. Just peruse our blog posts and everything. But if you're ready to take action with financing built in and buy your first brand new construction rental property in the best rental markets in the country, just click on the book a free call button right there, just the big button in the middle, and pick a 30-minute time slot that fits you on your calendar. Make sure you put in the right phone number and email address, and then one of our team members will call you at that time, and we'll be able to help you in that process towards financial freedom. There it is, morrisinvest.com. That's the place to go and to do that. So I hope you can... And our team, will help you along that. And we love, like one of our team members the other day, I was talking to a client, said he spoke to one of our team members for over an hour on the phone, just going back and forth on understanding some of the market, data and demography and the rental, the internal rate of return. And like, that's what our team does. We'll just spend that time on the phone and work with you on that. JR says, how far in advance would you get in touch with the property manager to see about when to renew a lease? It's up to you. I think typically what will happen is a property management team they have software and things that they will be reaching out to you and discussing with you about a lease renewal and what you'd like to do based on the market conditions. Is it worth just renewing the lease probably at the current rate or increasing the rent if there's a tenant turnover, and is this tenant planning to stay? Your mileage may vary depending on your property management team, JR, but in my experience, it's usually about a month and a half or so. It just really depends on the property management company and the market, and what the competition is right now for rents. But typically, if you're working with our team on our property management team, they're going to reach out to you. They're going to have a conversation with you about a lease renewal, and they're going to go through that process with you. So, but you can always give them a call. Remember, they work for you, JR, right? They are managing your property. So if you want to shoot them an email and to one of your account specialists at the property management company and just say, hey, I'm curious, I think our lease is up in 3 months. When do you begin to have that discussion with the tenant? And they're going to tell you they have a system in place about lease renewal. So that'll, clear your mind. JR says, I'm 4 months into my first property with a 1-year lease and just wanted to know. Yeah. It's going to be think of yourself, right, JR? Like, let's say you were going to move. Okay. Typically it's not something you do on a 2-week notice, right? Typically you're thinking about it because of a school year is approaching, you want to move to put your children in this other school district, et cetera. So you're going to be thinking probably 3 or 4 months down the line, 2 to 3 months, maybe compacted. So somewhere in there. I think now is a little too early though, especially this early in a lease. But life events happen, right? People get married, people get pregnant, they want to expand, move to a different location. Now they have a child, they want to move to a school district. So those things, are going to start to percolate for the family that lives in those properties. So, well, thank you so much, guys. We got chickens. If you're joining us late, we got a whole bunch of chickens today. We built a chicken coop over the weekend with the coming food shortages, big concerns about food shortages around the world. This is one thing we wanted to do to protect ourselves and our family. But so the kids just got home from school a little while ago. We're going to be going out there and working with them on the setting up so they can learn how to feed the chickens properly. They're going to be caring for them and, all this like living off the land. It feels good, though. You have the solar panels installed and the chickens and, you have all these like world food shortages that are piling up now. And President Biden warned about it a few weeks ago and like said he was emphatic about it. Like, pay attention. Like when the president of the United States says that, like just comes out and says it, that yes, we are about to see massive shortages. Okay. What is that based on? Well, it's based on a number of key data points. So anyway, excited to go check out the chickens and play with them and let the kids run wild. Although Grover he was a little freaking out by them. So I have to think, though, because he's a little mini pincher, like all it's going to take is like one peck from one of the chickens. And he'll be like, "Ooh, I'm not going after that anymore." He's like, "I'm just going to go back to sleep. I'll try it. I'll try it once, and then I'll get pecked in the face. And then that'll be the end of me." That'll be the end of me. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We're here every Tuesday at noon Eastern time. Again, we have a Q&A episode that we do every Monday as well. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail question, you can go to our website, go to morrisinvest.com. Click on the little microphone icon right down there. Let me show you here on the screen. See this little right here on the right side of the screen says send voicemail. Just click that and leave us a 30-second voicemail, and we will attempt to answer it on the live show, on the big show. Thanks to all of you guys. We'll see you back here next week, everyone.